Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're doing another Scientology from a Scientologist perspective special trial edition. So stay tuned and see what articles I'm covering today. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is Scientology from a Scientologist perspective, and we're doing a trial edition. I'm covering 3 articles. They're all closely related due to the fact that these are all dealing with David Miscavige. So this one might be a wee bit long because we're going to be covering 3 different articles, and they're all very interesting. So we need to really actually dive into these. All of these come from the underground bunker. They were all written by Tony Ortega. So we're going to take the first one that was posted on November the 26th of 2019. This was titled, David Miscavige, Valerie Haney's lawsuit is a publicity stunt and I want no part of it. If I could read today, it'd be great. I have my notes and my laptop in front of me, so let's get into it. I cannot introduce this any better than Tony Ortega did, so I'm going to read his introduction. Poor Scientology leader David Miscavige. You give someone a job for years as an indentured servant out of your worker's paradise on a secluded 500-acre California compound, make them cater to your every need 24 hours a day in your private quarters, and blow a gasket every time your morning eggs aren't just right. And then after demoting them, make sure they can't leave the compound ever again to see family or friends because they know too much about you. And then, after they escape in the trunk of a car, they sue you? What's the world coming to? Since Scientology's ultimate honcho can't imagine why his former servant and base escapee would sue him, he can only come to the conclusion that she's taking part in a publicity stunt in order to harm his reputation. What other reason could she possibly have? Like I said, I could do no better than Tony Ortega wrote himself, so I had to use it. So, this is the deal. This is Scientology's response to the lawsuit. And Scientology always attacks lawsuits in several different ways, so that, like, if one fails, like, one's got to stick, kind of thing. Like, they take, like, a wad of spaghetti and throw it at the wall. At least one piece is going to stick. So David Miscavige thinks the entire thing is a publicity stunt, and the Scientology lawyers are moving to squash the lawsuit, stating that Miscavige was improperly served, and Miscavige himself calls the attempt to serve him a fraud and states the server lied to the court. The attorneys for Miscavige stated this: plaintiff's fraudulent proof of service is just the most recent stunt aimed at generating media attention and harassing Mr. Miscavige. Plaintiff alleges no fact that Mr. Miscavige engaged in any wrongdoing, but by naming Mr. Miscavige as a defendant, plaintiff could tell the media that she sued the leader of the religion in an effort to ensure the allegations were widely disseminated. The lawsuit was brought to generate media attention as leverage. And they put emphasis on the generating of media attention. Now, Miscavige wants to point out the fact that when Valerie first filed her lawsuit, she filed it under Jane Doe. And then they're also pointing out that she waited 121 days to serve him, which violates a rule that he's supposed to be served within 60 days of the filing of the lawsuit. It's kind of unclear if that violates a rule or not. There's a lot of kind of back and forth ambiguity about that. And Valerie actually amended her lawsuit on September 30th of this year, replacing the Jane Doe moniker with her actual name. A lot of people came out and said that that was a brave act because it opened her up for Scientology's well-known attacks against her. And Miscavige just says that it was just a publicity stunt. It was just for her to get attention, and she was just hungry for publicity. So then I'm going to finish off this with, in summary, plaintiff never made any attempt to personally serve Mr. Miscavige. There was no due diligence. Hall's declaration of due diligence is fraud on the court. The purported substitute service on October 17th does not subject Mr. Miscavige to due court's jurisdiction. So what happened was they made several attempts to serve Mr. Miscavige with his papers for the lawsuit, but they failed. So they used an address that is listed for him in official documents as both a place of residency and a place of business, which I'll get into in the next article. So hang tight, these all tie together. And so that's where he was served, and he was served via a substitute because they gave the paperwork to the receptionist, and they're saying that that was fraud. So Miscavige, with the special appearance, is saying that he shouldn't be considered a defendant in the lawsuit. Well, perhaps not yet. Maybe a few more trips to the HGB building by a more wizened process server will do the trick. Notably, however, unlike the motions filed by other defendants in this lawsuit and by all the defendants, including Miscavige, in the Danny Masterson lawsuit, there's no request for sanctions here. Did Miscavige think that was a step too far for a plaintiff? Who knows him so personally well? We don't know. Meanwhile, the case itself has been transferred to a new courtroom. We told you last week that Valerie's legal team had made a peremptory challenge to Judge Teresa A. Bedent, which they can do one time without stating a reason. So now the case has been assigned to a Judge Richard J. Burtidge Jr. So apparently Valerie's team challenged the judge, so it's getting switched over to another judge. It's just right now in the beginning stages, getting everything set up for the trial to take place. So that's where Valerie's case is sitting right now. So let's switch over to the next article. The next article, Underground Bunker, also written by Tony Ortega. This one was posted on November 20th. But this is Scientology leader David Miscavige. Screw your lawsuit. You didn't serve me properly. So David Miscavige's lawyers have informed the Los Angeles Superior Court that they are moving to quash Miscavige's participation as a defendant in the lawsuit filed on August 22nd. They are claiming that the notice of the lawsuit wasn't served on the Scientology leader properly. Now, this lawsuit is the Danny Masterson rape allegation lawsuit. This is the one that was filed by the 4 women who have come out and said that Danny Masterson violently raped them, that Scientology played a role in this. They are naming Danny Masterson, Scientology, and David Miscavige all in playing a role in their rapes. So, this is where we're going to get into more of the meat of the substitute service from the Valerie Haney case, also in the Danny Masterson case. So the process servers performed a substitute service on Miscavige by giving the court papers to a receptionist a reception worker at what is believed to be his official address, the Hollywood Guarantee Building at 6331 Hollywood Boulevard. Former executives state that there are a great set of rooms for Miscavige to stay there. They're on the 11th floor. So this building is located at this address. They're saying on the 11th floor there is a set of rooms that are called the Great Rooms that are set aside for Miscavige to stay in when he is there. So that building serves as an official residency and an official workplace. When you're getting served with papers for court, they can serve you at home or at your place of work. And if you have a address that is given both as your workplace and your former, as also a place of work, that works even better. So, former executives state that these rooms are set aside for Miscavige to stay there, and with this being known of the address, it seemed a decent target for the substitute service. It would allow the defendant to be made aware of his naming in the lawsuit without physically handing the paperwork to him. So they were able, because, when all of these lawsuits started popping up, David Miscavige just vapored. Nobody was seeing him out, and he wasn't going to any public appearances. Nobody saw him, nothing. So, this was their way of getting to David Miscavige. Miscavige's attorneys disagree with this premise because they're saying that that actual address is not his work address nor his residency. It says also in the Valerie Haney's lawsuit and other lawsuits, and another lawsuit from Miami in which Miscavige is being named, were all served by the same process serving company, and they all used the same address to serve Miscavige. So he was served 3 different lawsuits at this address in the same way as a substitute serve kind of way. They gave it to the receptionist at this address under these premises. So Tony Ortega turned to an attorney named Scott Pilutik, I probably butchered that, who stated that all the plaintiffs may have to make other attempts to serve Miscavige if the court rules that these were served improperly. So even though they served it under these premises that this was a work address and that this was also a residency for David Miscavige, if the court comes down and says can't do it that way, all 3 of these plaintiffs are going to have to take even further measures to serve David Miscavige, which means he's going to go back underground, he's going to go back to Gold Int Base, and he's going to go hide, and they're not going to be able to serve him. So, the attorney advised that this is also a very common strategy when you're trying to get your client out of having to appear in court, is to attack the way that it is served. So, he showed Ortega the California law that governs the service, and Ortega noticed the language. So it says, may be served by leaving a copy of the summons and complaint at the person's dwelling house, usual place of abode, usual place of business, or usual mailing address other than the U.S. Postal Service post office box, in the presence of a competent member of the household or a person apparently in charge of his or her office. So, Tony Ortega did some digging. He said that he knew from Leah Remney that when she was still with the church and she wanted to send gifts to Miscavige, he told her to send them to the 6331 Hollywood Boulevard address. and that he did mailing from there. But a couple of years ago, Tony Ortega actually posted a letter that Miscavige had sent out in regards to the way that the country of Russia was raiding and arresting church members. And he has the letterhead from that. So I'm going to pause right here and insert those pieces for you to see what the address is. Also, a map showing the difference between the 6331 address and the address from the letterhead. Okay, so as you can see from that map, it's the same building, but it's around the corner. So the 6331 Hollywood Boulevard address is like the front side, and the 1710 Ivar Avenue address is literally around the corner on like a smaller side street. So a former Sea Org member revealed that this was set up this way, literally for David Miscavige to prevent being served lawsuit paperwork. So Scientology knows that process servers are likely to leave the paperwork with the receptionist at the 6331 Hollywood Boulevard address, but the Ivar entrance is locked and leads to the elevators that take Miscavige to his 11th floor rooms that he stays in. So here are the questions. Is David Miscavige going to try to keep himself out of a devastating lawsuit alleging child abuse, child trafficking, and the cover up of that abuse and the cover up of violent rape by simply claiming that the lawsuits are being delivered to the wrong door of his building? From everything that we know of David Miscavige, yes, he is. So the issues with what's going on with David Miscavige, guess what? There are also issues on how Danny Masterson was served with the exact same lawsuit. And you guessed it, they use the same location. Masterson neither lives there nor does he work there. Danny Masterson is not a Scientology employee. He's a Scientologist. So Masterson is going to have to be served a different way. Process servers are still continuing to try to hunt down a better location for the actor who is now like underground. So to sort out all of these issues with the service and all of that, there is a hearing about the motion for quashing that is set for February 5th of 2020. Moving on to the last article. This one, also The Underground Bunker, also written by Tony Ortega. This one was posted on November 29th of 2019, and it is called Scientology Moves to Dismiss Jane Doe Lawsuit in Miami, and we have the documents. Those document links will be in the description box along with all the links to all these articles. So let's just do a brief background. First, we have the Valerie Haney lawsuit, where attorneys are attacking the method of lawsuit service, calling it fraudulent, and they're trying to push to have it quashed. The Danny Masterson lawsuit, the issues with the lawsuit service, the attorneys are attempting to have it quashed, but they're also pushing for sanctions on the attorneys and the process servers. So that one has a little bit extra spice on that one. So the reaction to this one is drastically different from the first two. So the lawsuit was filed on September the 18th. on behalf of a woman labeled as Jane Doe. And this case is in reference to sexual abuse of Jane Doe as a small child, one at the Scientology school, Clearwater Academy. Then, as she was sent to work, still as a child, in Venezuela at a Scientology church, and then still as a child when she was returned to Clearwater. So Jane Doe also alleges a harassment campaign orchestrated by David Miscavige once she came forward with her allegations. So here is Scientology's response. So the response to this lawsuit is not the service of the notice, but the filing of the lawsuit in Miami. So they're not saying that it was served improperly. They're just saying that the lawsuit was filed in the wrong city. So Jane Doe states that she was assaulted in Clearwater, which is in Pinellas County and in Venezuela. She has named the Flag Service Organization in Clearwater, the Church of Scientology, and the Religious Technology Center. The last two are based out of California. It is being filed in Miami because the organizations do business and have agents and representatives in Miami. Scientology argues no parties are located in Miami-Dade County, including plaintiff, no evidence, and likely no witnesses are located in Miami-Dade County, and none of the alleged torts occurred in Miami-Dade County. Rather, plaintiff's claims appear to have a nexus in Pinellas County, Florida. Accordingly, this action should be transferred to Pinellas County. So they're saying she filed it in the wrong place, and so they're requesting a transfer. Well, like I said before, they don't just attack from one side, they attack from multiple just to try to get it to stick somewhere. So their second attack on the lawsuit is that even if the court rules Miami is the correct venue, the California agencies are to be sued. The church will move for a change of venue to international arbitrations, which means that they want the place, this case, in the Scientology's kangaroo court. And so if you remember when we covered the Garcia case, where the state of Florida was like, you're right, we have no jurisdiction over this, you have to go through the arbitration with Scientology. That is what they're pushing for. They're pushing for the state of Florida to go, yeah, you're right, y'all need to arbitrate this through your court. Well, this is a little bit different than defrauding people out of their money. This is sexual abuse of a child, and moving this child from the United States to a foreign country where she was further sexually abused, and then bringing her back from that foreign country back into the United States where she was sexually abused. In essence, this is equal to sex trafficking of a child. So that's a little bit different. And then on top of this, the Garcia case, even though they settled it in arbitration, is in appeals at this time. So their arbitration didn't work the way they thought it would. So Scientology has also placed motions that Jane Doe has waited too long to bring her lawsuit. So, 1, she filed it in the wrong place. 2, let's put it in our arbitration and take it out of the court system. 3, oh, well, she's waited too long, because they're stating that her case is for things that happened 20 years ago when she was in kindergarten, and she is now 25 years old. So, again, more and more and more and more. So, here we go. The motions make additional arguments, and they fit with what we've seen in Scientology in the past. Plaintiffs tend to file lawsuits alleging that Scientology is a unified worldwide body that operates under the micromanaging of David Miscavige. While it harms people and their families, and countless examples of the previous litigation spare this out, but in courts, Scientology is quick to make use of its early 1980s reorganization and claim that it is many entities that have nothing to do with each other, and that Miscavige is simply an ecclesiastical pontiff-like figure. So even though Scientology might have an ideal org in Miami with staff that reports directly to headquarters, RTC argues that that it has nothing to do with Miami or even the flag land base in Clearwater. For example, of how far they take this transparent attempt at hiding the ball, there's this quote from the motion submitted by the Church of Scientology International at the allegation of Jane Doe that when she was 14 years old, a woman in the HCO office in Clearwater sexually abused her. CSI writes, as for Mrs. Ritchie supposedly making a quote-unquote member of CSI does not even know what that means. CSI is a corporation and does not have quote-unquote members. Furthermore, CSI does not have any property in Florida, so the allegation that an assault took place on CSI property is fabricated as well. So they're trying to do the whole separation thing. But here, again, is the problem, and I've stated this in a past video. Can't remember which one because I do a lot of these. But if they're separate, how are they all under the tax-exempt status? That's the problem you're going to run into. And somebody needs to voice that. If you're all separate, how are you under the tax-exempt status? So it says, we note that the lawsuit, Jane Doe doesn't actually refer to the HCO woman as being a quote-unquote member of CSI. So we're not even sure what CSI is complaining about, but you can see Scientology strategy, as always, the same. David Miscavige at the annual events does his best to give the impression that Scientology is everywhere, all over the planet, and is expanding like no other religion has ever. But when it is taken to court, Scientology says, you can't sue us, we have no members, no employees, we own no property, and we don't even know what this Florida thing is, which is true. Like, as soon as it comes down to you suing them, they are non-existent. Meanwhile, there is no response in yet from Miscavige himself. Will he be challenging service like the other lawsuits or file his own motion to dismiss based on the venue? We can hardly wait to find out, and we're also interested to see how Jane Doe's legal team responds. It does strike us a little odd that if all of the parts of her story took place in Clearwater in Venezuela, Miami might be an odd choice of venue. But you also got to look at how much Scientology has permeated Clearwater. She's probably thinking of the best place that she can get the right justice. And to tell you the truth, if I was her, I would do the same thing. I would not believe I could get justice in Clearwater either. So these are the three cases of the legal battles that are going on with Scientology at this time. And that is what we have three different cases that we're looking at right now. So you have Valerie Haney's case, you have the Danny Masterson case, and now you have the Jane Doe case in Florida. What are your thoughts on these? What do you think should happen? What do you think Scientology's next move is? As far as the video, give it a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And in the description box, I'm going to have all three of these articles linked. I'm going to have the legal documents from Jane Doe's article also linked, where you can go in and when you have time yourself and read those so that you can get as good of an understanding as anybody can. It's a lot of legal wrangling and maneuvering because Scientology tries to throw a whole lot at people just to wrangle their way out. But in the description box, along with all of those articles, the top two links are going to be one for my Patreon and one for my PayPal. if you so are able to, please try to support the channel so that we can get some updated equipment such as lighting and microphones and editing equipment. Also, my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and email are all down below. Also, I have a social media link down below called Mines. It gives me a chance to earn cryptocurrency that I can turn into real cash that I can put into the channel for things such as lighting, microphones, and editing equipment. Mines is free for you to download and get on and meet really cool people and do all the nice, lovely things of social media. So if you're not able to monetarily support the channel through Patreon or PayPal, you can go onto Mines and support me that way, and I can earn cryptocurrency to turn into cash to support the channel that way. Anyway, guys, that's going to do me for this video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.